hobby got serious real quick, and then somebody I met through the pro sailing scene, a guy named Mike Buckley, who's now one of my best friends. He co-owns the team, the US SailGP team with me. He's our CEO. So I met Mike through the pro sailing scene, and we were just around some of the same events and got to know one another. And then another story for another time, but Mike and his wife actually introduced me to Maggie, my wife.
Definitely thankful.
Yeah, for that one. And so Buckley came to me, and obviously I knew of SailGP and we tracked it and been interested, but yeah, he came to me. He's like, Ryan, I think we should buy the team. When Buckley came to me, how do I say no? So that's how we got involved.
Welcome to the Early Podcast, where I interview the builders behind the world's most iconic companies. I'm Max Crowley. I was Uber's 25th employee and spent years scaling one of this generation's wildest rides. Each week, I sit down with the early innovators who really made it all happen. So please, tune in, like the show, subscribe, tell your friends, keep coming back. Let's go. Ryan, nice to see you.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
City. Yeah.
Yeah, so cool. This is your sailboat racing team. Is that the right way of calling it, or what would be the better way of saying that?
SailGP.
All right, so when you left Uber, you now have to figure out, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? You were on this crazy rocket ship, a huge part of building this company. How did you think about what you wanted to do in the future, and how did you think about defining success criteria for your next?
I think a lot of us, it's tough to step away from that. And how are you going to be fulfilled professionally? And I think to try to define success in terms of you want to replicate that or like do another Uber, maybe more power to you, but I wasn't about to go.
It's gonna be hard.
I wasn't about to go down that route. So I think for me, it was just finding something what's worth getting out of bed for in the morning that had me excited. Where can I learn? Where can I feel challenged? That's success for me at this point.
When did you first get into sailing?
Right after Uber. So I spent all those years in San Francisco, 7 of them for Uber, just looking over the lid of my laptop at a little
typing,
you
see the water,
little white triangles bobbing up and down in the bay, and I was like, well,
if this works out, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll have a chance. And so after I left, the first thing I actually wanted to do was I'm gonna go take some sailing lessons. It was time to get kicked back, maybe experience a little bit of leisure and R&R, and I thought sailing would be a good way to do that. So I went down to Pier 39, the touristy San Francisco. That's where a lot of the sailing leaves from there and the lessons and everything. So I took like a weekend long sailing course. There were probably 6 or 8 people, and everybody, was Captain Bill, and kind of shakes everybody's hand and sort of gives them their certificate. But I'm understanding that I'm about to be the last student that he's going to speak to, and he kind of says, well, Ryan, you've done pretty good at sailing, but you can't dock the boat for
So you'll be out there forever.
He said, you can't dock the boat for so I'm going to have to fail you. It's not that big a deal. I'm going to just bring you back on Monday, and you go to remedial docking school. So it's just motoring. You're not even sailing, but in, out, in, out, in, out. And then I got that done. He passed me. And then next weekend, I'm like, all right, I'm taking some friends out. It's crazy to me now, but they chartered me a Catalina 37. It's a lot of boat. And I invited a few friends, none of whom knew how to sail. I thought I knew how to sail. And then just out San Francisco. It's a gnarly place. It's like freezing cold. It's windy, tides, one of the most active shipping harbors in the world. And we got out there and it was mayhem. And I just about ran the boat on the rocks at Alcatraz.
Oh my God.
And
were you like freaking out?
Freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. Just like white knuckled, we're gonna die. Then we get in. I actually docked the boat like pretty well.
So you did you couldn't drive it, but now you could dock it.
And then we get in. I mean, everybody's jumping off the boat, just like kissing the land. But yeah, it was scary. And I was like, well, I wanted to learn the sailing thing, but if you can't learn in sailing school, how do you learn? And I started to ask people, and all the advice that I got from people that really knew how to sail and were skilled sailors and everything told me, you've got to race. And I was like, I don't want to race. This is about leisure. This is about cruising. And I said, it doesn't matter. That's really the only way to learn is to race, because if you can command a boat around a race course, like that's mastery. And you can really accelerate your learning curve, because if you're out there cruising, who knows? You're just drifting around. You might only do a few maneuvers over the course of a day, but in a race, right? You're always doing it. So it really accelerates the learning curve. So I said, okay, I'll give racing a go, even though I didn't have a whole lot of interest in it. And then, so I did one race, and then it was just like down the rabbit hole from there. Just fell in love with it.
I mean, but there is something about you. You're not a traditional engineer, but as you start to figure it out, you throw yourself so fully into it, you become one of the first employees at Uber, one of the most successful rocket ship tech companies. Now you find yourself in just leisurely sailing, and now you jump. Now you own a sail team.
I own a professional sports team.
So, I mean, you are someone who is highly competitive and wants to figure out, and I think inquisitive too. I mean, there's something about you that wants to learn truly how something works fully.
Yep.
I mean, so how does that kind of go then from your hobby to obsession to ownership?
The hobby got serious real quick, and then somebody I met through the pro sailing scene, a guy named Mike Buckley, who's now one of my best friends. He co-owns the team, the US SailGP team with me. He's our CEO. So I met Mike through the pro sailing scene, and we were just around some of the same events and got to know one another. And then another story for another time, but Mike and his wife actually introduced me to Maggie, my wife.
Definitely thankful.
Yeah, for that one. And so Buckley came to me, and obviously I knew of SailGP and we tracked it and been interested, but yeah, he came to me. He's like, Ryan, I think we should buy the team. When Buckley came to me, how do I say no? So that's how we got involved.
What is SailGP?
So SailGP is a global professional sailboat racing circuit. There are 12 teams currently. They all take on a national country affiliation. We're the US team. The circuit goes, it's all over the world. It's 14 of the most iconic waterfronts globally. So we're in Manhattan, getting ready to race this weekend. We've done this season already. We've done Sydney, we've done Auckland, Dubai, going to Europe this summer, Saint-Tropez. Yeah, it's global. It's kind of glamorous. It's on the water. The sailboats we race aren't really sailboats, certainly not by like a traditional understanding. So the boats are called F50s, and they're foiling race boats. So it's a catamaran, and then they have these arms with wings on them. That's what we call foils. And then they go under the water. And then when the boat begins to gain a little momentum, the foils their wings under the water create lift, and then the hulls of the boat rise above the water. So there's virtually no drag. It's a bit more akin to an airplane flying a few meters over above the surface of the water than it like actually is a sailboat that's sort of displacing, kind of pushing water as it goes through, and it's quite exciting. So the technology has really only been there for maybe 10 years or so since a boat was fully capable of foiling around a race course, upwind, downwind, through all the maneuvers. So it's really this extreme sport, this very sort of extreme version of sailing that didn't even exist 10 years ago because the technology just wasn't there.
Yeah, and then the technology on top of it to film this and be able to put it on the internet or TV or whatever. I mean, because you're out there on the water and the footage is just like incredible. Mm-hmm. What was your feeling the first time you were on one of these boats?
It was scary. They're pretty, I was a little puckered up. We had the team under contract to purchase it, and I got hop on in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. I was all amped up to drive the boat. Because,
of course you were.
Yeah, and then I got on, and I'm like, all right, I'm just good here, hanging out at the back of the boat.
So there's a real learning curve to drive one of these.
Yeah, it's a critical platform on the water, and so you need to get a little simulator time, and next time out, I'll be ready to take the wheel.
How is this different than America's Cup?
In a way, it kind of evolved from the America's Cup. The America's Cup, it's the longest continuously contested trophy in sport. So it's got all this really incredible tradition, which is part of what makes it great. But a lot of that tradition, without getting into it, completely holds it back commercially. And it's kind of relegated to be this bit of a patron sport. And so after the 2017 America's Cup, the Oracle team, so Larry Ellison, Russell Coots, decided to leave the America's Cup world and then build SailGP. And a lot of it was kind of first principles. We were able to fix what's wrong with the America's Cup, kind of reimagine it from the ground up. What would it be? That's SailGP.
How has it been for you thus far? Like, what's the best part about owning this team?
Getting to travel all over the world.
Yeah, the coolest places in the world.
Yeah, and then just to see the technology, to see these boats develop, and also just to be part of something. I mean, I think it's SailGP, but even sailing broadly, it's an awesome community of people. And kind of missed that after the Uber experience. So yeah, that's been great. Building the company, like learning a new business.
Yeah, you've got sponsors, you have revenue.
It's a media and entertainment platform, and just all that goes into it. I mean, I think pretty naively when I first got in, I thought a sponsor just meant a logo on a boat. But like so much more than that, it's a real partnership that we need to build with these brands, and it has to be authentic, and we need to tell stories, and different brands want to be involved for different reasons. And so learning that side of the business, I guess the sort of the sales side there has been interesting, and so getting to learn something new. Been great.
You're a data guy, you're a technologist, obviously, again, one of the first employees at Uber. What about the data side and the technology of this sport gets you most excited?
Yeah, this is cool. So the crazy level of instrumentation on the boats. Every boat's got 30,000 data points per second. It streams off it. It's all real time into the Oracle cloud. And we have access not just to our data in real time, or historically, but we have access to every other team, the entire fleet.
Got it. So they're totally open about data sharing.
It's open book on that. It's just increased parity. It's why the NFL is so great. Any given Sunday, you don't know what's going to happen. One season a team can go from the cellar to the playoffs, but you look at F1 in certain years. And then actually the America's Cup is the same way too. I kind of describe it as it's like a little bit less of a race and it's more of an engineering competition that you settle in the water.
Amazing. Yeah. Engineering competition that you settle on the water.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. I would say that's the America's Cup. Here, there's all kinds of R&D and engineering that happens, but it happens at the league level, and then the technology gets pushed out to all the teams. So the boats are identical. Everybody has the sails, the wings. Everybody has access to everybody else's data. So it truly is about who are the best sailors.
It's real sport.
Yeah, real sport are going to win. That data aspect, I think, is quite unique. There's a lot to learn from. If you're struggling in a certain area, you can look empirically into what your competitors are doing or teams at the top of the fleet are doing, and then try to see if you can implement that. And
that's different than F1, right? I mean, F1's probably more.
Yeah, F1's very kind of closed, kind of proprietary and everything. I think it's good that we do it. Really, it's two ways. I mean, one from a business perspective, it's a way to control costs, right? If it just becomes this engineering kind of R&D arms race, then you're just spending insane amounts of money, which again, exciting from an engineering standpoint, but it limits this is how the America's Cup is. It limits your ability to be successful as a business. So it makes good business sense, but then it's also good for the fans too, because you have that parity.
What about on the media side? I mean, you're filming a race in the water. There has to be innovation on that front as well. That's able to pull all this content in.
It's nuts. I mean, you'd be there with me this weekend. There's helicopters ripping around. There'll be at least 2 helicopters circling the race course, and they got cameras and everything. So you get great footage, but also just the atmosphere. Everybody loves helicopters.
Yeah, right? It's like you're running from the cops or something. You're really excited on the water.
Yeah, you grew up in Chicago, right?
Exactly. Bringing it back. Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. So, you've got that kind of footage from the air. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy power boats out there. In some cases, you can barely keep up the sailboat. They go 105 kilometers an hour. It's wild. But then they've got cameras with gyroscopes, and there's cameras on the F-50s. So there's all this kind of on the water footage, and it results in a televised racing product is absolutely incredible. And what they're able to do, the graphics, the augmented reality overlays, just the yellow line in football for the first down, or when you're watching swimming in the Olympics, right? They have the world record line. They're chasing stuff in-house. SailGP has developed a lot of those technologies when you watch the race. It's almost necessary too, because we're reaching an audience that they're not sailing fans. We're just reaching fans of sport and culture, right? Yeah, and so it's helpful for them to understand what's going on, but it's also necessary. F1, the track is obvious. It's this discrete loop.
Totally open water.
Our track is the water. You actually can't see it with your eyes. So then when you watch it on TV and they're actually able to paint that on the screen, it's really incredible. The starts are very exciting, and there's sort of graphics in the pre-start as everyone's sort of jockeying for position. And there's sort of indicators of which boat is likely to have the best start. It's pretty incredible. And so televised live CBS Sports, the cable network, and then they'll do a nice 1 hour edit and put it on CBS proper, the network, and the TV numbers have just been really incredible. I mean, in some cases we're reaching 1.5 million, 2 million viewers in the US. Kind of globally, it can be anywhere between 20 and 40 million.
Incredible.
Yeah.
When you think about the future of the league, of the team, what are your goals? What are you most excited about for the future of this?
From a business perspective, generate free cash flow.
Make some money.
Yeah. We're going to be there next year. So I think that's pretty exciting. It's also actually rare for an emerging sports property, but we're going to
get a lot of sponsors on
that. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have some really great partners. And so, I think that's a key goal. And then we certainly want to improve our results. We started with an all-American squad, really fantastic, accomplished sailors, but we lack experience on this platform, the F-50, the boats we sail here. So it's a steep learning curve for us to climb. So looking forward to climbing it.
Yeah, hell yeah, go USA. All right, last one to end on, a fun one.
Okay.
What is more intense, race day or Travis breathing down your neck for a product launch?
You know the answer to that. Yeah, definitely TK breathing down my neck.
You need him out here to pump up the team.
I know. Yeah, I do. I'm in a lounge, a glass of champagne. It's a little bit less stressful.
No more stressed, yeah. Awesome, dude. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
My name is Taylor Canfield, and currently the driver for US SailGP Team.
Where are you from originally?
I grew up in the US Virgin Islands in St. Thomas.
Well, how did that happen?
Yeah, parents met down there and raised me there. And I cannot tell you how lucky I am to have had that opportunity. And really, that's what launched my love for sailing in the ocean and doing what I do. So that's where it all started.
Are you on the water pretty much from as far as you can remember?
Even before I can remember, really. Yeah, parents kind of forced me into a boat when I was around 6 years old. And we just, back then, and even now, you get these huge trade winds that come through the islands and creates all the hurricanes coming through there in the summers. But it just blows. When you're a young kid throwing this boat alone, and it's super windy, it's pretty intimidating. So I didn't really like it as much at first. And about a year after I started sailing, I started competing and racing in these small little boats. And I don't know where the competitive bug in me came from. That's when I was like, yeah, this is me.
How old were you when you first went out on the ocean by yourself?
Yeah, 6 years old. Yeah, they throw you in a little Optimist, it's called, 8-foot boat, and kind of square side, square front and back, and push you off the beach, and you flip over. Luckily there, St. Thomas Yacht, you flip over, and the breeze just pushes you back onto the beach. Bail your boat out and start going again. So,
oh my God. I mean, how could you not be scared as a 6-year-old out
yeah,
on the water by yourself?
Pretty intimidating for sure. You go around the corner from our yacht club and you're in basically Atlantic Ocean. So it was awesome though. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And again, super lucky just to have had that playground to grow up with and just be in the ocean all the time.
When did you first realize that you could do this as a profession?
Yeah, probably way earlier than my parents would have liked. I was pretty young, maybe a 13-year-old.
You're like, this is what I'm doing forever.
Yeah, and my mom's like, no. And I'm like, oh yeah.
You shouldn't have raised me down here if you didn't think I was going to be doing this.
So yeah, I grew up just loving the sport and just wanted to get to the top. Again, that competitive bug for me started really early. And my goal, as a young kid watching the America's Cup, I was like, I'm going to be there at all costs.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, worked my ass off to just try to get better and just sail as many different boats and new experiences and to learn as much as I could. And yeah, luckily it brought me, fortunate my parents, when I was younger, funded all of this for me and I got to travel to some cool places around the world. And yeah, as I got older in high school and college sailing, I did everything I could. I just worked my ass off to make sure that I was going to be ready to set myself up to get to the America's Cup. So there's big steps along the way, but something that we almost achieved. And then SailGP came about and that became the new, almost live golf, if you will.
Maybe just going back for a second, what's your biggest professional accomplishment, would you say? When was the moment you were like, wow, I really made it, or I can't believe I accomplished this?
I would say probably first world championship I won when I was probably 22 years old, fresh out of college. We got on this circuit called the World Match Racing Tour, which is back then was basically a direct feeder for sailors going to the America's Cup. And, just to be on that stage with the best guys, it's awesome. And then, we had this unbelievable, breakout year before we joined the tour full time where won 2 of the, 9 events on the tour as a kind of wild card entry. And yeah, a little bit of a groundbreaking situation. We actually, qualified our way in, which had never been done before as a non-tour card holder, a wild card entry. Basically, we qualified then for the next season.
Amazing.
And then we went on to win that world championship the next year. So
a true underdog story for you guys to basically sneak in there and then
yeah, I guess so. And it was such a cool experience that everyone was like, oh, you guys got a little bit lucky. There's a lot of people saying we got lucky that wild card entry year where we few invites to some of those events and won them. But then that just fueled us to go follow it up the next year. Be like, hey, we're here to stay. Yeah,
proof this is not a fluke.
But yeah, so that was a really cool experience and I'll never forget it. And been sailing, try to sail on a bunch of different boats and another 6 world championships in various different boats and never forget your first.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the origin for you with SailGP? And if you can, what is this league exactly?
Yeah, my time with SailGP started in season 1, actually. I was brought into the team as the flight controller for the team. And yeah, it was just kind of a buddy that I grew up sailing against was running the team at the time and called me up and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And I was like, whatever it takes, this is going to be something cool. And to sail these incredible, this is the technology that goes into these boats and the speeds we're seeing. It's just this, I don't even know how to explain it. This adrenaline junkie, technology game. And yeah, it's ever since, it's just been ticking away, growth. And, we started the first season with 6 teams. Now we have 12 teams. And that was in 2019. So pretty quick growth. And with Mike Buckley, our goal was to, get to the America's Cup kind of through the 2019 to 2023 era. And we raised a lot of money and kind of put in an attempt to get to the starting line in the America's Cup. Failed. And we looked at it and we're like, okay, what's next? Like, what's the next coolest thing that we can do? The America's Cup's every 3-4 years. So there's this big gap of like, okay, what are we doing?
Something
Yeah. And so we worked and kept pestering the league, and the teams in SailGP were starting to sell. We're like, we got to figure this out. How do we get our hands on a team? And we looked at buying, other country teams. And then finally they gave in. We luckily found Ryan, McKillen, and he was the first guy to buy into our dream of purchasing the US team, and here we are. It all happened really quickly from when we first started talking about it till, at least it felt quick, but it was drawn out probably over a year till it fully unraveled everything and the team was purchased. But yeah, it's honestly a dream to be a part of this sailing on the team and to have helped create it. I wasn't a huge part of the creation of it, but Mike and I we pushed hard together to use our connections and our resources to figure out how to get it done. And I quickly wanted to then start focusing on the sailing side of it. And yeah, they luckily, I guess with my experience in sailing, they, offered me to drive the boat. So I was like, how could I say no?
What is that feeling when you first are driving this boat and it's going at such crazy speeds? I mean, you're basically flying above the water.
Truthfully, the first day we went out, I'll never forget it. The team was like almost finalized. The deal was almost done. We went out after the LA event, 2024 season, and went out after that event the day after, and it was blowing as much as we can sail these boats in almost. And, I'd never driven the boat. Yeah, so it's just blowing, dogs off chains, like full on. And I'm holding the wheel and I'm like, never done this before, and trying to figure out where all the numbers are on the screen to get the boat going in the right direction. It's like so overwhelming.
How fast are you going?
The first bearway I think we did, you're already doing like 49 knots, like almost 60 miles an hour, instantly off the dock. And I was just like, holy, I'm trying to listen to them instruct me where to go and what to do. And all of your other sailing experiences, you're just like, wow, this is like so intense compared to anything you've ever done. And it didn't help that we had to start on day one with just a crazy amount of wind. And you slowly get more comfortable, but you feel like Bambi crossing the boat, your first day on it, like a little tuck and roll here and there. And your legs are all wobbly. And so yeah, it was
back
cool.
to like you 6 years old out there for the first time.
Yeah, for sure. And then as you do a few more days, things start to slow down a little bit. You realize where everything is on the boat, where your attention needs to be in certain situations. And it's been a year and a half now almost. Yeah, but can't ask for enough time still to get better and to keep raising the bar.
So the race is tomorrow. Start of the races this weekend. What's your kind of game day, race day preparation look like?
Yeah, we're about to get into it. We have practice racing today, so we treat today like a race day, and all the media comes in early, and we do our hellos, and then we try to push them out and get ready for racing. Yeah, we do a big team warm up on the mats and making sure we're limber, and you don't want your body to be an excuse for not performing. So if you don't have to think about your physicality out there, like that's a good thing. You just know that that's going to show up. Making sure that's ready, and then just going through the race course and the wind conditions for the day, and kind of like what do we have in store for us. So the coach does a lot of homework on race course and where we think certain areas are going to be beneficial for us getting around the race course a little bit quicker than the others. And kind of a list of just never ending. Things are changing throughout the morning. It's just it's always a little hectic, but you just got to stay cool and just kind of roll with the punches a little bit, and just make sure that we're, I think just ready to go at any moment. So
amazing, dude. Thank you so much for talking. I really appreciate it. Pumped to see you tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to be racing here in front of our home crew, and it gets us exciting representing the U.S. and in our own home country. It's a dream. So
hell yeah,
we're super excited.
Love it. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Ryan. So we're out on the water. It's practice day.
It is.
From everything you guys have said, this is basically a race day. What is sort of the run of show? What does this look like when the race actually gets going?
Yeah, so it's like you said, it's a full run of show. So we race 2 days, Saturday, Sunday, but just so much technology involved in terms of the broadcast and the data that needs to be read off the boats. And the live commentary for the races is actually called by a couple of guys that sit in the SailGP office in London. So on Friday, it's a good opportunity for the teams to get out there and actually practice and get some reps in, but it's also like to run a show to make sure that all of the technology works. So really the only difference is
and even helicopters going above, everything.
It's good for the atmosphere. So there's always 2 helicopters. The race gets shot from up there in addition on the water.
And yeah, we run 12 boats on the actual Saturday, Sunday race weekend. But on Friday, we'll do heats with 6 each and just kind of risk management, a little bit less density out on the track and just keep the equipment and make sure everybody will be out there on Saturday too.
How long's the actual race from start to finish, and how far are they going both in distance and time?
Yeah, so the course is always sort of set up like based on time. And we want the races to be 15, 17 minutes. And so it's a function of how long the racetrack is. So kind of depending on the conditions in a given day, they might stretch or actually lengthen the racetrack. So if it's windy and the boats are, got a couple of them coming right here.
Wow, look at that. Amazing. So that crew, that team that we saw an hour ago is out there right now.
They're out there. Actually, yeah, here we come.
Here comes the US team now.
Yeah.
Tommy Hilfiger is your big partner.
Yeah, Max, you were asking about the racetrack. So the aim for races that are like 15 to 17 minutes, it's a dynamic course. So it's a function of the direction of the wind and then also just the speed of the wind. If the boats are going faster, it can lengthen the course. If it's a lighter air day and maybe they're going a little bit slower, the course can be compressed. So you still end up with about a 15 or 17 minute race. And then it's always set up, the start is quite exciting. So it's a rolling start. So they set a 5-minute clock and then a start line. And then during that pre-start period, the boats are all behind the line, kind of jockeying for position. And then the goal is at go at 0. When that pre-start clock hits 0, you want to hit the line with as much speed as possible. And so it's exciting. And at that point, they're sailing with the wind coming like perpendicular across the boat. We call that a reach. It's the fastest point of sail, the fastest the boats will get on the race course. And then after that starting or reaching leg, they'll turn downwind and then they'll sail upwind, downwind some laps until they come back and then they'll do another reach to the finish.
And how many races are there on Saturday?
There are 4 races each day. So we run 4 on Saturday and then on Sunday, first do 3 races. So now we've got 7 total. And the top 3 teams of the 12 then advance on to a winner-take-all final. So that's the 8th race of the weekend or the 4th race on Sunday. And so just the 3 boats that performed the best over the previous series of races. And yeah, winner-take-all, so it's pretty exciting.
Got it. So the 12 teams do 7 races, and then only 3 teams advance to do the final race.
Yep.
Awesome. And they're all about the same length of time, each of those races.
Right.
The same course then each time as well?
Roughly, but I mean, it's dynamic. All the marks that they sail around, they're drones basically, and so they can move them around. And so again, to sort of strengthen or lengthen or shorten the course, but then also like if the wind begins to swing around, then they might need to like adjust the orientation of the course axis so it's sort of beats the wind in the.
Maybe you could just tell us more about like what we're seeing out here right now.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of a race here, and they're kind of sailing these windward leeward laps. Boats are going downwind here, and when you
Here we go, the US.
In sailing, you can't sail directly into the wind. You have to sail at angles to the wind. So you're tacking upwind or you're jibing downwind. And so even though these boats are all on the same lap, they're on different sides of the course as they jibe up and down the course and they sort of crisscross. And it makes it actually quite exciting because many, many times during a race, you have these scenarios where 2 boats, if they stayed their course, they would collide. And then sailing has rules that in all those scenarios dictate who's the stand-on boat and who has to give way. And when your boat giving way, you want to duck or dip that boat by the smallest margin possible, because if you dip too much, well, you're just sailing extra distance. So you have just constantly throughout the day, you'll have all these very close crosses. And then at the top and the bottom of the course, there's gates. So there's 2 marks, and then you come into these gates, and then you have a decision of which one you want to round. And then that, in a lot of ways, then when you come back up, that sort of sets the strategy for the next leg of your race. Really what they're trying to do, and this is kind of like the name of the game for kind of the tactical part of sailing, it's obviously like really dynamic. And it's a large kind of body of water that we're racing in here. So they're on different parts of the course, different pressure, different wind speeds. There's variation in the angles of the wind, and then wind tends to oscillate in regular intervals. So as the teams are out there, the strategy is all about reading the wind and understanding what it's doing, what you think it's going to do, so you can position your boat on the part of the race course where you're going to be the fastest.
Do they have data points then that they know, sort of, they're able to kind of chart the course? They know exactly, how do they know where to go?
It's like a lot of it's intuition. So when you're on with some of these pros, and they can look across the race course and they can tell you what looks light or what looks windy, or they can tell you'd be on the boat and you might be in a light area and they'll count down. They'll say puffin 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you feel it power up. They can see the wind speed on the water, but then they can also see angle too. So they're looking at wave angles, and then they can kind of understand if you're sailing into a shift, if the breeze is starting to oscillate, you can kind of see it in the angle of the waves. And all of that really kind of dictates your performance, because if you're sailing a shift and the wind moves and allows your boat to sort of point higher towards the top of the course, now you're sailing less distance.
How do they know during the race how they're performing against the other boats?
It's just, a lot of it's kind of looking around, and some of it's just sort of intuitive. You can tell who you're ahead of and not, but in some cases, maybe the boats that are kind of closer in the pack to you might be out on different sides of the water, and then when you come back to converge, oftentimes it can be a little bit difficult to tell who's ahead and who's not.
Got it. But that's like also where, from a television standpoint, the technology makes it easier for people to know.
Yeah, exactly. For instance, when you're watching it on TV, there's a little like overlay on top of every boat. It's got your country flag, your boat speed, and then what position you are out of the 12 in the race. So yeah.
Cool. So any idea where we are in this race?
They're finishing right now, actually. And that's the grandstand and the lounge and everything. So they typically try to set it up so the finish is in front of
Right there.
Yeah.
Has there been any of these races with like gnarly weather where things are?
Oh yeah. I mean, Halifax last year, it was pissing rain, probably blowing 30, 35 knots, super gusty.
It can be crazy out there.
Yeah. There's really extensive safety training that these guys and girls go through. They're tethered onto the boat, sort of first off, so it kind of keeps them from getting thrown. But then they wear knives in sort of various places. So even if you had a shoulder injury, maybe you could still reach.
Wow.
And then they also have oxygen. So they carry a little can of oxygen with a regulator, and it's enough for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So you get 15 breaths out of it. And then on the water, every single team has a dedicated safety diver. So if something happens, if a boat goes over, within seconds, there's divers.
Where are they? Are they on the boat or are they near the boat?
Every team has a chase boat. So you've got some shore staff and support crew, and then a diver.
Wow. How often have you seen them have to use something from the chase boat?
Fortunately, we've never had any catastrophic injuries. And certainly some head injuries and some broken legs and, it's like serious things. But as far as I know, we haven't had a real underwater.
But clearly, safety is still a priority.
Yeah, so it has to be. Yeah.
What's something else that someone who knows nothing about sailing should know?
Yeah. F1 on the water is like a really easy way to describe it. But I think you just got to get out here and kind of see it for yourselves. When you're close to these boats and you see how fast they're going, and they're just the harmonics that you hear, they're just whistling by, and then when they're kind of wicked up like top end speed, you can be in a power boat and you can have that thing on the pins and you have trouble keeping up with the sailboats. And so when you have that experience, it's pretty cool. But I think everybody loves, it's New York City, it's sunshine, a beautiful day, and everybody loves being on the water, right? You don't have to be a sailing fan, but I think we have that going for us, that who's gonna turn down a day on a boat? So, I think you start there, where SailGP is just the excuse to just get out on the water and have a good time with friends, but then you get to see this incredible sport, and then, hopefully it starts to draw people in.
Absolutely. Just being out there at the practice and seeing everything, they're athletes too. These are tall people, it's strength, they're stretching. They're athletes out there. This is a real sport. It's so awesome.
Yeah. Top end speed of the boat's 105 kilometers an hour. When they maneuver, 3.5 Gs of force through the maneuvers. Imagine standing on the rooftop of your car, speeding down the highway in a rainstorm. That's basically what they're experiencing. And so, it's a high degree of athleticism. There's 2 positions on the boat called grinders. So they're on this pedestal where they generate the power to move. Certain parts of the boat are kind of human power. There's sort of batteries for other aspects of it. But in addition to the athleticism, sailing is highly, highly intellectual. They're out there on the water. You got to be able to do like trigonometry, like in real time, you know, while your heart rate's spiking and you're running across the boat, and make all these strategic tactical decisions. So that's like another part of it. These athletes, they have to be able to perform mentally while they're under a lot of physical stress.
Amazing. So cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.